Exodus part 2, and I'm going to start at verse 13:3. So let's get onto it here. Now I know I told you in the last video that Moses was learning how to speak Hebrew because he was in an Egyptian palace and they would not have spake Hebrew. So when those people were talking to him, they knew Egyptian. Okay. Now here, um, I needed to add the word wind, and I've explained this in the last video. These will be corrected later in the next cleanup, when I clean up and get rid of all the blue text that's not needed. And you'll probably want to see the reasons why I'm getting rid of text. Those are the reasons. That's why I'm not going over them anymore. Now this here needs to be yellow to complete the format. Bring to take from the land for Egypt. Needed to add the word land where it says out from Egypt or out of Egypt, out of the affliction. Don't need those extra words. But here again, now I have Canaans. So and they will listen and obey you. Now, this doesn't yet mean that he knows, our Creator just instantly made him understand Hebrew and write it. But you're going to say, hey, they'll listen to him and obey him. That isn't the type of listening that they're going to do. He asked him, what if they do not believe me? And then the stick in your hand, which I'm going to change to a walking stick later. Maybe I should put that in now, but just to let you know that the stick that was in his hand was a walking stick. It wasn't a staff. A staff usually has a flag on the top. Okay, so there's a difference of how I'm using the word staff later. But the word stick is going to end up being walking stick. I should start making some notes on this. Sorry about that. I'm going to do that right now. Stick that over here so you don't have to see all that. And then you need to show you. And then I want to do this word here. I want to recheck those words. And I better put the word flock. If you listen to the last video, okay, I need to save that. Save it there. And I need to label it. And let's check these. Okay. Now, I was down here. Oh, the stick is going to be a walking stick. And we dropped it to the, see, it's got the word ground. And why am I changing the word ground? Because the word land is actually means the surface that you can see. That means that there is land underneath the river, and that land is for the river, okay? But what is underneath is the ground, okay? It's the not visible. So I have to keep the words correctly being said. This writer does not understand the text is how the Hebrews would talk and understand what they mean when they say the word land or ground. And he didn't throw it, he dropped it. Okay, plain and simple. I don't know why all that word wasn't green. And I guess that would have been first time would be that color. And it didn't become a serpent. I'm going to have it become a cobra. Okay. And then he stepped back. From it. And then told him to reach out, grasp his tail, and not that he stretched his hand out, he reached out with his hand. I don't have the word with here. Reached out with his hand and caught it by its tail, by its, yeah, and he caught it. I guess they're trying to say that you would understand that they were saying grasp its tail. That's what he caught it. I'm going to make sure you know that it's a tail. And it became a stick. Not bosom, but chest. And then I needed to add these words here and then remove it. How can he put his hand into his bosom? So these words are just not truthful. But then he took it out. See, they have it going into his bosom. So I'm having it placed on his chest because he cannot stick it into his bosom. Are you thinking that that the clothes he was wearing now that he stuck it in between them and then when it, no, that is not into his bosom like they have here. So, and then removed it. And when he removed it, his hand was not leprous, but it was white like snow. Leprous is not a very pretty, but it's a scabbing looking white on the skin. So it was white like snow. Then put your hand to chest again, not bosom, but chest. And then he removed it, needed to add these words because when he took it out, that's not just correct. When I tell you to say words correctly, use them correctly, it's a must in my life. And so that's why you'll see me thinking about every word that's being said and how it's said and making it the truthful, as truthful as I can make it. So here it's his flesh, but it's actually his skin. They use the word flesh many different ways. I'm going to say when it's the skin, or when it's the hide, it's the hide. Not that there's this flesh for man and flesh for an animal. And now go and Aaron, their leader, will come out to meet you. Now, who is Aaron? Aaron, you have to understand that Moses and Aaron are going to go before the king. And you just don't get an appearance to the king. Aaron has to be very important to be able to take him to the king. So Aaron, here, their leader, not just a Levite, but he was their leader, means that he spoke both languages, and the king had assigned Aaron to be his spokesperson to instruct the Israelis what was going on. And it's very important that you understand who Aaron is. When I've debated people with who Aaron is, they have no idea. And then when I start explaining to them, Some do, some just call me a heretic and leave. But the object is it's to understand who Aaron really is, to be able to just walk into the palace or say, I need to see the king, and they would allow him in. They knew who he was. And to be able to bring a stranger in, they knew that he was bringing another Hebrew to him. So that would have been okay for him to do that. Say that Aaron was taking other elders for the other tribes in there. Okay. So we have Aaron, who is very important, who understands both languages. Now he is going to come out and meet you, and he will speak for you to the people, not their elders. Okay. Now this is our Creator speaking, but I mean, he will speak for you, meaning his Hebrew is perfect. Okay. And being that he's can speak both languages, he could write most likely both languages. So if anybody who was writing some of the text would have been Aaron, okay, not Moses. Moses didn't write nothing. He was receiving the words from our Creator, and Aaron, and most likely Joshua, was starting to understand and read Hebrew, and that becomes I wouldn't say Joshua writes any of the books, but I'm saying that all of a sudden he is now having to learn so he understands uh, Hebrew as well, because when the people came out, they a lot of them were bilingual. Now that's just my personal opinion on Joshua. Um, I might change my mind on that, but the thing here is that I just want you to know that Aaron will speak for you. So he's the one that has the perfect Hebrew to tell them and relate to them what Moses was doing, or what, yes, what Moses was sent for. And again, here's this again, Raul. Now, here, um, he's going to go back and talk to his father by law, and to return to my brothers, not brother, but brothers. And he said, go, told him to go in peace. And he took his wife and his son. Now, there's got sons, but we only have one son in the text. So, on a donkey. This early age of them calling him a son at this time means that he could have been from the age of weaning to maybe the age of 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. Because you got to remember, some of the words being used kind of defines how old Moses is when he's coming back. So when they're on a donkey, took his wife and his son on a donkey, that means she was carrying him. This is what's going on here with the word with no S on the end. And when he spake to Aaron to meet Moses. And he took him to the elders, and Aaron told them. See, here's Aaron telling them about English or Hebrew. He understood Hebrew very well, or we now know that Moses didn't understand Hebrew fluently, okay, as we would say today. In the sight of the elders, he was taking them to not just the people, but he was sent to the elders, and the elders at this time were a gathering of the higher ups for each tribe. So there's just not 12 men standing here. There's more than 12. Okay. So, our people, about our sons. No, not concerned about our sons, but he's concerned about the people. And then after that, Moses and Aaron went to the king, and Moses told him. So Moses being a speaker for our Creator, but he needed Aaron to get in, and they just went into the king. Here I've got YV demands you are to let his people go, not my people. Moses would not speak in for our Creator by saying my, he would have been saying his people go, and they are to celebrate, not have a feast, but they're supposed to celebrate with him by the sea, not the wilderness. The word wilderness is being used wrong. I'm using the word sea for the simple fact that that's where they are going to go. So they would not have been surprised by being cornered when they get to the sea. So here, I'm putting the word sea into the text, and yes, now my influence is on the text really stamped here in this word. But I'm able to do that more in this format than our Creator's format. At some time, I will be re-editing what I've done. I can't remember whether I'm using the word sea, because it's very important that the people would have been understanding that they weren't, when they were leading to the sea, they would have known that actually when you look at the land structure, let me see here. When you look at the land structure, get rid of this. Down here, see how there's hills here, and when they let them, I got it through the simplest path. And if they know that they weren't going up here, the people would have started kind of having doubts here, and some would have probably broke off and went there. But the object here is as they went to the sea, they have to cross the Red Sea. So the thing here is this would have been that they were trapped in. So, like I'm saying, they had to know where they were going, and it would have been, he would have been saying going to the sea. And he didn't say, he replied, who is wiving? And that I should obey his command, not his voice, obey his voice. It's a command that was given. So, I just got let Israelis. They would have called them Israelis at that time. They were all descendants from Israel. They would have been started to be called as Israelis. Their labors to work, it's close enough. And now they are to get straw for themselves. Now, people today are really kind of not understanding what the straw is used for. The straw is used to place the bricks on the ground so they can then, when burn the bricks later, to burn the straw off that's stuck to the wet bricks. So they didn't mix straw into the bricks. But they were having other people gather the straw. And I'm thinking the straw is not really straw. I'm thinking it's more or less like grass. So you have to understand that they're making clay bricks in molds, and then they have to set them someplace. And then they have to, what's very unique, is they have to put them on carts, and then they have to go to take the bricks there, and then build that building in the king's city. They didn't build all the places in Egypt. But, and if the bricks look so similar, that's because that's the style of bricks that were being made at that time. But it's the straw is not mixed with bricks. Okay. There's a lot of text being gone that doesn't need to be said. So these people were concerned about it. Come and asked him about it, and he talked to our creator because he petitioned our creator. He didn't just say, he petitioned. And tell him, why have I harmed your people? Or I have harmed your people. And then he's going to just tell them, because of their king, then they will leave his kingdom because of what he's going to do. A lot of this is a lot of double text being said. And it's some of it, a lot of it's not even truthful. Here again, they're using the word Jacob. We know that you should be aware of oversalted words in the text. And like I said, he didn't just spake to Moses at this time. He commanded Moses to go tell the king for Egypt, send to leave. Yeah, this story just doesn't make sense. Okay, here's their words that were Moses was 80 when he come back, and Aaron was 83. These are absolutely false, 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 false. There would have been no sons to create the army that's going to be needed to go conquer the land, or their land. I still don't have the word walking stick yet, so I'm wondering when I did that. Maybe I did that in the next video when I cleaned it up. But now it's Aaron's staff. Okay, it was Moses's staff that stick that became a cobra. So here, that's already changed that Aaron did this, but it swallowed up their cobra. But the king did not listen to him. I think I have this wrong to make the format. So it has to be. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And I'm thinking that maybe this verse needs to be removed. I'll have to make sure that maybe this is, oh no, there's our 4 verse groups. Or it changes into 4 verse groups. Okay. And that's where it changed. From right here to here, now we got a 4 verse format. Not Hebrews, but Israelis. And I'm adding this because I need a 4th verse. And I'm not really adding anything more than what was already been said. Thus to this. I would take you over to there and show you, but I don't think that's an important enough word to show you the concordance. Now, I'm adding the word the creator. Just that he's trying to convince the king at that time who he really is. Remember, they thought there might be multiple gods, okay? And our creator wants him to specifically know that he is the one and only. So I need to, so I'm adding the word "the" here, which is very important um, when you read it and understand, because at some time, um, the advisors to the king are going to say, yeah, he's the creator. So only he can do what's going on here. Our gods don't do that. See, they didn't have a creator as we know him. Um, just like Christians today using the word nature. No, our creator created everything. Well, the secular world would have used nature, um, and then a God of what already exists came about. So, but they didn't have a creator of everything. That's what I'm putting into the text here by saying the creator. And turn it to blood. Can't be blood. Fish can't. It means it was red, the color of blood. It turned it reddish. Um, so the thing here and the fish will die, and the Nile will become foul. Not foul, but it's actually difficult to drink. This will become, but I couldn't figure out a word for foul to mean distasteful. Become distasteful, maybe. Maybe that's what I should use here. But foul, and then down here it's described as difficult drinking the water. But they could still drink it. They wouldn't be drinking if it was blood. Okay, so the thing here says it can't be blood. Um, he just doesn't have servants when he's out walking around. He has guards with him. So, um, and then it turned reddish. King was mad, not hardened, but mad. He did not listen to them, as YV said. Then notice how these plagues take just a long time. The plagues you'll find do not happen all at once. Bing, 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 bing. They're going to happen over several months of this, what's going on. And this is one of the examples that they did put in days. Another was the darkness was for 3 days. But what you'll see is this is taking place at the winter time, and as you their winter. But the object is that there'll be words for, say, when the locusts come about, which I think is the 8th plague. They're eating the green that is sprouting up. So here comes the green that they need food to live on and exist, and the locusts are destroying it. It means instant famine for them. So the thing here is it was sprouting and ruining their crops for the whole year. So now you know that how to figure out a timeline. You would go from springtime when it starts, and I believe it's like in April is the first harvest of wheat in Egypt. So it was in April that they came. Okay, so and then it would have been several months. Then it might have been a month later. Then it was the darkness, and then he killed them, their firstborn. Go to leave shouldn't be that difficult to understand. Hold the land, or his whole, see, they got a whole territory, but I'm using the word land here in cities with frogs. I'm making them come in and bothering all the people, not just the people out in the field or away from the city. And the king summoned, he didn't call for him, he summoned him. The king summons. And it's entreat, it's a request. I'm pretty sure that that word, let's go here to, well, I'm getting pretty comfortable in my seat. This is 8, and it's verse 8, so it's so small away from me that I have a hard time seeing the numbers. And it's entreat. See, they don't. A supplication is to petition. Petition and supplication are both asking. Okay. So these words, they aren't really um, being truthful at all time, because petition is supplicate, to ask. And once you know that, word pray is the act that you're in, whether you're kneeling, bowing with your head, bowing to your knee, uh, with your hands out. That is what it means to pray. What you say is a prayer. Okay, so to pray and prayed is different. Um, but let's get back to the text here, and I guess this word needs to be yellow, but yes. It was to request YV to do this chain, or to destroy the frogs. And now it's tomorrow, but what time tomorrow? I'm specifically going to use the word high, which means noon. Like I said, their vocabulary was not as much as ours. They would have understood the high of the site at the, they couldn't have said zenith. They wouldn't have said zenith. They would have said at the high of the day. So at the high of the day, then I will know it was your God, because he still doesn't understand the difference between their God and their gods, or our Creator. And he cried, no, he petitioned. He asked YV. Do I have he here? Maybe Aaron with him both petitioned him. I have to look at that again. When I'm editing it, so much is happening when I'm editing. So, but that needs to be looked at and corrected. In their homes, I try to explain a house is going to be a larger place with, say, servants, and a home is a singular dwelling for a family and some of their children to live together. But they did not leave. Now here, the story just jumps into it. So we have to have our Creator command Moses to go to the king, and this is just a couple, a copy from text above, so it's not adding. But when he refuses to go out from him, okay, yeah, and when he refuses, that when you go to the king and he's going to refuse you, go out from him and raise your stick to me. Boy, I should have went through here and put walking stick. It's starting to bother me all the time, but I didn't do it here. And it's got Aaron stretching out your stick. So that's just not true. Moses would not let him have his walking stick. And then flies, not gants. Gants are pretty much flies. But I want to make sure that they're flies like you understand, because later he's going to send bugs in the next one. So there has to be a difference between these. Flies, yes, they're pestering, but it's the bugs of being all kinds of bugs in the next plague. And here it's this is by their God. I guess they aren't convinced yet. I think that means I didn't really tell you the truth of what I was editing before, and I apologize. It means that by their God, they understand that their God is different than their God, and their God is special here because their God wouldn't be able to do that because, like I said, their God exists after nature did it, is the way they would have been explaining. It's to understand their thinking process back then and to understand their side of the story and understand how they would see life as it was at that time. So, because you got to remember, they're around the king and they have to have convincing information that they know what they're talking about. So it would have been how they had and those before them defined the world they lived in at that time. There was not a real curator for them. It was nature, and then gods came about from there. You can, remind of that. Have to add the word bank here is where he's going to go talk to him. In the desert, and serve me in the desert. Well, I'm adding the word desert because that's wrong. That's wrong. That's got to be correct. I can't even convince myself here that I'm using the word right. Okay, now here are the bugs, swarms of insects. So this is just being used as the word bugs, meaning multiple kinds, all the other little creatures all out flying around and crawling around on him throughout his kingdom. This is to make the format complete because these words are too important not to say or have said in the text. Set apart, to separate, same thing, set apart, separate. And I'm gonna just say that yes, that's shouldn't have been yellow. So he was summoned. I'm just transferring the word to be said this way, but it's just that I needed that word here. And when you read as much as I do, is these sentences over and over when I'm correcting them, it tastes funny. So the thing here is I stick it over here when I'm doing it. Later when I catch it, I try to say I switched the words around, just so you know that I do that from time to time. You should be aware of what I'm doing for trying not to make the text my mind, and influence it to my direction. I want to try to use it as truthful as possible from what it is, and make sure that you're aware of everything that I'm doing. Okay. When people finally trust me, they'll want to know. So that's pretty much why I'm doing all this. Okay, I'm going to stop here for this video and then start the next video.